In this video, we're going to preview the LSU Tigers in 25-26. That will include reviewing how things finished up in the 24-25 season, who left, who has come via the portal, and who's gone to the WNBA. And then we will see who's on their roster and how it might piece together in this upcoming season. Before we start, if you enjoy the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. Last year was another good year for LSU. They finished third in the SEC behind Texas and South Carolina, but frustratingly, for the second year in a row, they could not get over the hump in the Elite Eight game and make it to the Final Four, as UCLA got their revenge after being eliminated by LSU the previous year. Following the season, big changes. So Anissa Morrow obviously went to the WNBA and got drafted by the Connecticut Sun. In addition, Samaya Smith went into the portal and went to UVA, as well as Jersey Wolfenberger and other players went via the portals, but those were the major ones. But as well, they also had gains via the transfer portal, and Kate Caval from Notre Dame, the big 6'5 center. In addition, Amaya Joyner, the 6'2 forward from East Carolina. And then, of course, Mylasia Fulwiley, the guard from South Carolina. LSU was further strengthened by the #1 recruiting class in 2025. They got number 6, Grace Knox, a 6'2 forward who they desperately need to develop quickly. The recruiting class also includes number 10, Zakiya Johnson. She's a 6-foot wing. Number 24 rated Divine Borage, a 5'11 slashing guard. And then number 32 rated Bella Hines, who's a 5'10 in the point guard mold. So overall, I think you get the picture. LSU had a few losses in Samaya Smith and Anissa Morrow, namely, but my God, they collected a lot of talent, and it should be fun to watch how Kim Mulkey and crew develop and put that talent together. In breaking down LSU's roster, I'll do it in 3 parts: the anchors, the bigs, and the smalls. So the anchors are obviously Flau'jae Johnson and Michaela Williams. Flau'jae Johnson's net rating was 13.7 over 100 possessions. Her offensive rating, LSU would score 113.8 points with her on the court per 100 possessions and only score 106.8 points per 100 when she was off. On defense, LSU with her on would give up 84.9 points per 100. When she went off, LSU would give up 91.5 points per 100 possessions. Now, Michaela Williams, her net rating was 5.1. On offense, LSU would score 113.1 points when she was on the court and only score 107.5 when she went off. On defense, LSU would give up 86.8 points per 100, and when she was off, the same amount. LSU would give up 86.4 points when she went off. They can score on all 3 levels. Take a look at their shot chart. They take a lot of shots in the mid-range. So Williams took 39% of her shots in the mid-range, Johnson 31%, but overall LSU took 27% of their shots in the mid-range. That's just their philosophy. Clearly, these are 2 core good players to build your roster around. They both play hard. They're not divas. They go after it and are good to coach by all accounts. So what is going to be around them? Let's start with the big. So 6'5", Kate Caval, Amaya Joyner, who's 6'2", and Grace Knox, who I mentioned before, the number 6 rated recruit, who's 6'2" as well. The good news for Kim Mulkey is she has a legitimate big in Kate Caval, who's mobile and big, unlike Aaliyah Del Rosario, who highly rated, but she really just could not move. I forgot to mention her as transferring out, but she really won't be missed, as she just did not develop when she was LSU, unfortunately. Kate Caval, on the other hand, she got minutes her freshman year at Notre Dame and held up well. Now, this was in large part due to Maddie Westbelt's foot injury. She got to start straight away. Her big impact was on defense. So with her on the court, Notre Dame gave up 80.6 points per 100 possession. When she went off court, 83.4 points per 100 possession Notre Dame would give up. She guards the rim. She's a good shot blocker. 8.6% of the shots taken by opponents were blocked by her, and she was able to stay out of foul trouble for the most part. I really think Kim Mulkey's going to enjoy having a really big that fits her personality better in terms of wanting to pound the ball inside. There was one point last year where they had a big comeback win versus Stanford, and they had to go small to win that. And Mulkey's like, you do what you have to do to win, but she didn't like it. So I think this gives her a chance to have a big player on the court, which suits her style. Now, Joyner, she's 6'2", transferred from East Carolina. She's athletic. She's not going to give you a lot on offense, but she'll give you rebounds and mobility and just an overall athletic player. Grace Knox, a mobile big forward that can move well. She has the potential to stretch out her game and shoot outside. She's faced adversity during her career, so she had issues with stress fractures in her lower back. She did a core stability program and had a good junior and senior high school years. Hopefully she'll be able to stay healthy, and I think she's a really big key to how LSU goes. Well, they really need all three of their bigs to come through. It reminds me a little bit of UConn last year, how they were really hoping that Ice Brady, Jana L. Alfie, and Sarah Strong would deliver. Now, I'm not saying that Grace Knox is going to be Sarah Strong, but if those three can give them meaningful minutes and allow them to play big, then that really sets them up to be good because they're going to be able to play small. They have so many talented guards and forwards, which we're going to go into now. So obviously, you have the anchors, which I mentioned before, Michaela Williams and Flau'jae Johnson. Then you have a whole bunch of wild cards. So Kaylin Gilbert, Malaysia Fulwiley, obviously the transfer in, who can score a bucket at any time. Jada Richard. And then the incoming class of the guards as well. Divine Borage, Zakiya Johnson, and Bella Hines. Who is going to break through among those players? That is the million-dollar question. Gilbert transferred in from last year from Arizona. She was pretty much as advertised. Her offense was good. The LSU would score 113.1 points when she was on the court per 100 and 110.8 when she was off. Defense, though, which was a problem at her previous stop, they would give up 91.3 points when she was on and only 82.5 points when she went off. When she is hot, get out of the way as she can win you a game, but the same token, when she's not, she can lose you a game just as fast by taking ill-advised shots. Speaking of ill-advised shots, Malaysia Fulwiley, last year she regressed in terms of performance. She just lost her three-point shot, only shot 25% from three, and she's never really been efficient in the mid-range, always shooting around 25%. I've got to admit, I really didn't understand the transfer of her transferring from South Carolina to LSU. I could see her going to a school wanting more leash so she could make mistakes and just be the player that she was going to be. But going to LSU, it's not like she's not going to get yanked by Kim Mulkey if she makes bad passes or doesn't play defense or takes ill-advised shots. So she's basically just jumped right back in to the briar patch, if you like. For LSU, I understand wanting a talented player, and if you get a chance to get Fulwiley, you jump all over it, but she's just her game is so much like Gilbert's, in my opinion. So is the juice worth the squeeze? If it works out, this could be sensational. If she buys in on defense, and I can see it going either way. I can see this being a fantastic flop and failure, and her transferring out to her third school next year, or maybe it totally works out and she's the offense that LSU needs to get them to that next level and to get to the Final Four. In terms of the other freshman guards, I see Divine Borage and Zakiya Johnson being the most likely to break through to get meaningful minutes, as they can sub in at the forward positions and slash to the basket and give minutes. I don't know if they'll be able to break through or not, but that's most likely. I think Bella Hines, I think she will actually be behind Jada Richard. Mulkey liked Richard last year. She's got a real chance to develop into that classic point guard that Mulkey likes. I suspect she might be a starter in her junior year, but it's to beware as Mulkey can get fed up with her point guards quite quickly and play a game of musical chairs with them, which we've seen in the past with POA and HVL and whoever. So Mulkey is tough on point guards, there's no doubt. And if Richard can develop into that steady point guard, then she might be able to break, surprisingly, the starting lineup. I don't think so. Again, I think she'll be a backup and then potentially a starter next year, her junior year. So the starting lineup for this year, here's what I've got, or what I think. I think it'll be Kate Caval at center, a big battle between Joyner and Knox for the power forward position. I think Knox will win out eventually. And then, in my opinion, it'll be Full Wiley and Falaje Johnson at the forward and guard spots, and then Kayla Williams being the other guard and being the primary ball handler, almost acting like the point guard. I think she has the talent to do that. I think they'll initially try that. I don't know if it'll work, and then potentially I could see them going Richard and trying to find a point guard. The funny thing is how Mulkey decided not to go with Chavez and give her the $1 million. It'll be interesting to see if she will wind up with regrets of that. Would it have been better to pay $1 million and get a point guard, as they've really struggled to fill that position since Alexis Morris went to the WNBA? And funny enough, that was the last time they made the Final Four and won the championship. Now, other reasons for that team winning, but yeah, I think they really would benefit from having a steady point guard, because Mulkey really becomes quite unhinged when her point guard makes a mistake. In terms of their schedule, their non-conference, as per usual, is pretty weak. The only game they'll really have non-conference, it'll be a tough matchup, is through the ACC SEC Challenge. They'll play Duke on the 4th of December. I think that's we'll get an initial picture of where they're at. Even their Thanksgiving tournament, the Paradise Jam, they play Marist first up in that one. The winner of Miami of Ohio versus Washington State. So they're not much on there. Of course, they're in the SEC, so they'll get their tough matchups there. They will have a home and home with Texas. That's the only team in the SEC that they'll play twice. So overall, I think the big call on this team, how well will Mylasia Fulwiley work out? Does that give a little bit extra push for their offense and allow them to make the push to the Final Four? It's an interesting team. It'll be interesting to see how they come together and which freshmen will break out. Yeah, so overall, I think their fans are in line for a fun season. If it all goes right, Final Four, and you never know. If it doesn't, then it'll be hard for them to get past the Elite Eight. If I was a betting man, I think it'll be Elite Eight and out, just because they're a little bit young, and I can't see how the parts will fit together, but happy to be wrong. And if they are, it'll be a good story, because I do like Mylasia Fulwiley. I would like to see that work out and her sort of live up to her talent and potential. All right, now it's over to you. Your comments, your poison, it's all welcome. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great night.